Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Is that me? It is. And welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every day at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 Pacific for about an hour or 90 minutes. We do 3 gun-related topics each day, different topics throughout the week. We run it live on YouTube, and we simulcast it over at gunchannels.com, where we're watching the comments that come in from the people that are watching the show live. We also watch the comments over on YouTube. When it's all over, we'll take the audio and post that eventually as a podcast over on iTunes. And because of that, we ask people who might be listening to the show now or in the future to leave us some feedback. That we do appreciate that. It lets us know where people aren't listening to the show, and lets us know where to devote our efforts. So we do appreciate it. It also helps us to get recommended to more viewers, more listeners. So we do appreciate that favor. There are 5 hosts. 2 of us are just 2 of us here today. Got Daniel jumping in from Illinois. Thanks for joining.
Yep, glad to be here.
I'm down here in Arizona. No idea where Smeggy is or Bob. They're probably doing stuff they're next to the woods. And then usually Z will jump in from Maui about an hour into the show when he's done with part of his 9 to 5 or one of his other 9 to 5s. So let's see. Today is episode 315. We'll be talking about alternative gun topics. Is Plus P necessary? Then the gun biz. What's next for the gun business? Then we wrap up the week. Of course, we talk about our daily stuff, stuff that we talk about every single day. And, well, I guess there's all kinds of surprises that might happen. But before we get into it, we usually take a break at the beginning like this to talk about anything that might have happened overnight, anything worth talking about.
Nothing on my side.
Right on. Well, we have the Old West decks I've been talking about off and on has gone live. In fact, just before the show, it went live. So I'll drop the link again. Anybody that wants to take a look at that. If you wanted to grab a deck, we have some available at a lower price to get the thing going. But hopefully it's good value no matter what. We did get a prototype deck in earlier today and busted it out, and it looks really good. So really impressed actually with the results of this one. Just like 2 minor edits. We could almost just print it as is. So anyway, it's pretty cool. And there's a video up there. We'll be posting a couple other videos with more like a closer look at some of the cards. But looks like we already have some people getting in on the early bird deals over there. So basically real cheap decks to get the wheels turning. So we just dropped the links again there for anybody that might be interested, or if you're listening to this in the future, check out the description or just head over to Kickstarter. I bet you if you typed in Old West, we're probably one of the only ones doing Old West right now. The goal is $6,000, so it costs quite a bit to get them built and then shipped to us and then turned around and shipped out. That usually costs about twice as much. And then fees and then tax, which you don't want to forget about tax when you're dealing with thousands of dollars. So $6,000 is the mark. Hopefully, let's see what happens if you take $6,000 and you divide it by $15. Has anybody ever done that before? I think my calculator can handle that.
You got it, or you want me to do it?
Well, I'm doing it. I just 400. So that would be about 400 people or 200 people grabbing a couple of decks. So hopefully that's within reason, and we'll see them get made. But looking for feedback, looking for comments out there, all those kind of things, just like when we talk about the show, all that kind of stuff helps the campaign get recognized as active and then recommended to more people. So thanks for everybody who supports the show, and hopefully you'll continue to support us with that, helping out with getting the word out about the playing cards. Anyway, so that happened this morning, and we had Yankee show last night. That was eventful, I guess. And then Tag Daddy had his show. Trying to think.
What was Yankees topic?
Yesterday is just kind of topics that came up from the audience, general stuff. We talked a little bit about Trump. He wanted to talk about Trump. Nothing controversial, really. And a little bit interesting, I guess. Yankee asked what Matt and I thought about Trump's chances of being impeached. And I didn't even know that was seriously a thing. I mean, I've heard about it, but you hear about that with every president from the losing side. So
Right.
Yankees seems to believe that that's a possibility. So that's, I guess, news to me because, like I say, you hear that every time. There's always going to be some extreme who thinks that whoever won should be impeached right away.
Yep.
What do you think, though? Is that actually a possibility, or is that just a bunch of people yapping?
I'm trying to remember whether it was impeached or another term that Bill Clinton was. Or because there's a different I don't remember what is that term for when Congress kind of gives you an admonishment, and then there's one where you can actually get kicked out of office, and they're two slightly different things. Bill Clinton got something
Yeah,
from the Monica Lewinsky thing.
No, that's enough. So, anyway, you're saying that it's possible that he'll get whatever that is, slap on the wrist?
I hear all sorts of charges. I don't see any evidence, and that's my opinion. I mean, until I see some facts, some evidence, I couldn't vote or suggest either way.
I hear you. So, like I say, I told him, well, like I told the Yankee, I don't pay that much attention. So I was more surprised that he was bringing it up as a valid question, that it was, that even that relevant. So I guess time will tell, and we'll see if everybody is successful with rallying behind that, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have facts. Just because you don't like somebody is not enough.
Oh, we already got one thumbs down, so that must have been from some of Bob's fans because they didn't see Bob here today. I don't think we screwed it up that bad yet. But let's give it a shot. Let's try it out. So it's episode 315. We'll be talking about alternative gun topics to start with. So is plus P necessary? I think it's necessary for anemic rounds like 9mm, right? That's why they invented it, the 9mm.
Well, and this is a topic that I almost wish we had our official math guy here, the engineer, because it's a combination of energy and energy that you can fully transfer into another object and not waste energy by passing through. And it's and that energy it comes in a couple of factors. It's mass. I mean the density of the object. It's then the inertia that it has when it travels. Then of course that increases the faster the projectile is traveling. But if at any point it goes all the way through the object, then you don't transfer all that energy into the object, and thus you get less damage as a result. So too much can be just as bad as not enough. Like having a pass through as an example versus going 2 inches into a thigh. Is it necessary? I would say with a lot of the advancements in projectile development, I would say it's not absolutely necessary. I would say it varies on the type of projectiles that your self-defense loads are using. If they're using older technologies, then it might be necessary for that particular round. If it's using newer technologies, then maybe not so much. But it's literally on a case-by-case situation.
What do you mean by newer technologies, like shape of the projectile, or like?
Well, as an example, ferro hydroshock is a 1980s technology. in regards to jacketed hollow point versus it's the exact same company, Federal and HST, which is more modern concept in jacketed hollow points. And the mushrooming effect and mushrooming consistently, because that's the transfer of energy when it basically turns into a parachute inside the body of an offender and gets dragged through. And the more reliable it is to get, to get proper mushrooming, the more successful you're going to be in transferring that energy from the projectile into the object.
Potentially, for sure. I don't know. Does the plus P really have an effect on the newer stuff, like you're saying, the stuff that's more engineered to, I guess, expand or deliver energy more consistently? Does it?
Well, that's where my example of the Hydroshock versus the HST came up, is with the newer technologies, it may be less needed. Because the older ones really did require more power to properly mushroom. And plus they had other issues such as getting clogged with material.
Well, okay, but that aside, because I guess any caliber is going to have that potential, right? Any hollow point is going to have that potential, even any caliber. So I'm going to put that one to the side just because that's not specific to the calibers that use plus P. But are you saying because of the tech, they wanted the plus P to deliver energy better, or have more energy to deliver? And that was the creation of it, or that was the reasoning for it?
Well,
and then you're saying they don't need it so much because of the engineering of the projectiles, but why wouldn't you just leave the plus P there and just have all that additional energy? Or, I don't know, what's the disadvantage of plus P? It punches more, so it's more difficult to shoot accurately, potentially?
Because you want predictable performance, not just better performance, but predictable performance. And that's what the end users that are pushing this are the big customers, police departments and things like that are buying large amounts of ammunition, and they want predictability in their ammunition. It's not that well, the Hydroshock wouldn't do that. It's just it's not as predictable. Won't do it as predictably as an HST.
Well, all right, but you're talking about a theory of purchase for a department now, which is, I don't know how that so much plus P issue, as much as the reason plus P you're saying isn't so prevalent or isn't such a relevant as a factor as it used to be. So I'm saying on the personal level, though, on the individual, from the individual buying the ammo, what do we care if it's best suited for a department, unless we're trying to emulate what our departments.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because I'm not looking to go through glass, where an officer might be willing to, or might be needing to go through glass and barrier penetration. He has different needs than I do, and I think that's a great point. So for someone like the FBI or some police department, that they may indeed need that hypervelocity, where I, with a modern projectile, may not.
Now, what if you decided, or you went with the plus P for whatever reasoning, and then in court you think there's any issue? Like, this guy could have bought any reasonable kind of ammo. He decided to go past all those down the aisle to where they had the plus perpetrator ammo, and bought some of this high velocity stuff that's only needed for busting through barriers and armor.
And this is when I will go to my belief now. What I know for a fact is that the opposing attorney can make a case out of anything they want to, but there are some things that are easier for them to pick on, like you got ultra death 3 projectiles, with a picture of a monster on the outside of the box, versus you have something that says Hydroshock plus P. You know, what one projects one image, one just looks like some sort of ammunition. One looks like just nothing special. The other one looks like you're not taking it seriously. And that's where I think some of those Hornady rounds with the and it's just because of the marketing. You know, I don't believe they're any different, but it's something that a prosecutor is those particular Hornady rounds. I forget what they're called off the top of my head. The Zombie Max, I think, something like that. Could use against you to take advantage of the common perception out there, or a perception out there of somebody who would buy something that looks that childish, must not be taking it seriously. Therefore, you are more culpable. You know, just like if you have something that says a little back plate on the back of your firearm that says "Smile, wait for flash." I mean, that's another example of something that can be used against you. But I don't think just because it's plus P alone can hurt you. I think there are other bigger things that are more of a concern. Like the Zombie Max.
Well, I tend to agree, except for all those things you mentioned there. As long as you do them with intent and you can explain your reasoning, then you're good to go. And same with plus P. So I see that was it Dog Body keeps saying figured plus P was for short barrels, and that was marketed for. I don't think so, because now there is definitely stuff marketed for short barrels, but it has more of a burn like ratio or like a burn time element to it.
Yep.
I always plus P was really just to get more energy, more performance out of the normal projectile. Basically, cook it up to where the maximum tolerance or range for the caliber, for the load, to basically take advantage of the machines, right? Most of the U.S. made revolvers can handle it, so they wanted to tune them up to get the most performance out of them, right?
That you said it exactly right.
So then they, of course,
short barrel powder is meant to be a quicker burning power for when you might only have like a little snubby revolver. You might only have 1 7/8 inch of a barrel powder to burn for its maximum effect, pushing that projectile down the barrel. Where in a traditional revolver with a 6-inch barrel, you have a lot. Now you got 6 inches instead of 1 7/8 to burn all that powder to push that projectile down the barrel. So.
Speaking of 1 7/8, it's like Maggie's here.
Yes. So the short barrel powder is a quicker burning powder. That's the difference. It's not to make it go any faster. It just means that you will have less wasted powder going out the end of the barrel, and you also will have less of a flash or a fireball going out the end of the barrel. Because those fireballs are simply unburned powder outside the barrel.
You're losing numbers, like whatever it says it's for some longer barrel, and you're basically not allowing pressure to be created, so you're losing velocity and all the numbers as soon as it leaves the barrel. You're using a short barrel. So Smeggy, we've been talking about plus P and why is it necessary. You want to add anything to that before we mosey on?
I'd be interested to know what you guys said. I'll go back and listen to it, but I think there's sure a time and a place for it. I mean, if you have a gun that can handle it, especially if it's like a self-defense kind of thing, and you wanna be pushing that bullet out with a little more energy, then go with that. But I also at the same time think that some people go nuts over it, and they go like chasing the crazy pressures and crazy velocities, and that's just I don't know.
Hashtag chasing the P.
Yeah, sure. Something like that. Or, like them big bore revolver people that just like beating their hands up and brag about how they shoot the biggest thing. Sean Poner. But anyways.
We kind of talked about that before, but yeah, plus P will significantly increase the recoil. I mean, you'll definitely know you're shooting plus Ps when you get some in there, and they can be powerful. So I wouldn't recommend them for an older gun.
Yeah, and the more recoil you have, the more difficult the second and third shot, if needed, will be.
Right. Now,
Well,
this is...
you're not going to practice. You're going to go out there and you're going to shoot 10, 20 rounds, and you're going to be like, that's it. I'm done. Like, I've abused my hand now. Where with some wimpy 38 or something, or special, you can shoot all afternoon.
Now, what I'm curious on, though, is if such a thing exists, a 9mm plus P plus. Does that have enough energy for G-Webs to sign off on it? Or is it still too weak?
No, because it's like
See, it's not about...
You can shoot a dart as fast as you want. It's not like, shooting a solid steel rod.
Okay, so even plus P, you're not giving 9mm a pass. All right, I was just curious on that.
I think it started...
He's all about girth.
It started out with plus Panzer, because 9mm is a Nazi round. That's why I'm against it. All right, so we'll move on. So that would
break out my special effects, aren't you?
I got a special effect right over here. That was our first topic. We solved 9mm plus P and all the other plus Ps, and we're about to head into the gun biz. It's our second segment on Fridays. Before we do, we like to take a break between the first and second segment of the show each day to feature one of the members over at Gun Channels. Gun Channels is a place we built a while back. It's a community that's focused on firearms, completely membership driven, which is why we like to focus on one of the members each day. And we've had a theme going throughout the week. I don't know if anybody's caught on to it. Feel free to leave some guesses out there in the comments if you're watching it live, or if we don't come up with it and announce it here, feel free to send us an email or something. Maybe there's some reason to do this. Anyway, today it's Tankboy. So some of you might not be as familiar with as some of the people we talk about, but we're not here to always promote the people that are the most active or that participate the most. So one of the members over at Gun Channels and is one of the people in the theme for this week, and one of the reasons we have a place so that people who want to hang out, talk about guns, or just watch the people hang out and talk about guns.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Tankboy, I don't believe, but glad he's here. I mean, I like seeing any people on Gun Channel, so hope he's having a fun time using the site, however he uses it. And there you go. I don't have much else to say about him.
I've not seen Tankboy, but welcome aboard.
All right, so that'll take us into the gun biz. We talk about the gun industry every Friday for a little while. This is where we solve things. With the green arm, we'll be good to go.
Excuse me. All right. It is time for the tactical pop quiz of the day. Is that good enough?
You might have to clap a few more times.
Okay. Time for the tactical pop quiz of the day. So those of you over on YouTube and those of you over in Gun Channels, get your pens and pencils ready. Smeggy, have you had time to take a look at the show notes and the question and answer?
Yeah, I glanced at it and then I promptly forgot it, so I have to glance at it again.
Okay, take your time.
This one was like, oh, that's the answer. Wait, what did I just read? It's like when you're looking at a menu or something and you're like, oh, yeah, that's what I'm going to order. Hang on, what do they have here? Do they have burgers here? I forget.
That's right.
So,
So,
that's what it's like going to eat with Bob.
Is that what happens? Is that what Bob does?
Yeah. Oh, I know what I'm getting. And then when the lady comes up or whatever, like, oh, wait a minute. What was I getting? Where am I at again? What day is it?
Okay, y'all set?
Well, I've never had a chance to eat with Bob, but now I'm all set. Yay! Killing time
Okay.
worked.
I will read the question twice. It is as follows. On Yugoslavian Tokarevs, many have the following on the grips. FRSJ. What does it stand for? On Yugoslavian Tokarevs, many have the following on the grips. FRSJ. What does it stand for? FRSJ.
Nothing on YouTube. Nothing. Safety.
I don't think so. I think Pink typed in the Gun Channels chat what he should be typing in on YouTube, or I mean on Google. Does that count for Chris? It's in like a weird language. It's not translated.
I think we have an answer.
Chris is actually not that far. Wait a minute. Let me double check.
That's what I'm saying. It seems like he typed it out in the other language versus translating it to English. Your answer's in English.
FRSJ. Well, I'll tell you what. I think Chris has earned it.
The Solistic or Jubilov. So yeah, that's it.
There is. I'm going to say Chris got it. It's Federal Socialist Republic of Yugoslavia.
I just said it.
So congratulations, Chris. You are today's tactical pop quiz winner. You know what to do, but for the rest of you, when you win, head on over to dailygunchannels.com.
Whoa, hold on.
Oh, wait a minute. Scratch. I did it again. dailygunshow.com/pop quiz. Fill out the form, put your first and second choice, and congratulations, Chris.
Man, I want to give a shout out to Artisan Tony. Facebook really sucks jollies. I think that's also a pretty good statement. So points for creativity. But unfortunately, that's not the right answer. Who had the right answer was Chris. And that makes you today's tactical hot shot of the day.
Yeah, I was fiddling around one day, and I was looking at the grip on my Tokarev, and I wonder what that stands for. I started doing some research, and between myself and Cycle Camp, we were able to figure it out.
Well, if you didn't win the quiz today or ever, or if you won the quiz and you didn't win it today, you can have a chance tomorrow. We're going to be doing the tactical quiz on Saturdays now, and it'll be much more elaborate and difficult and fun. So I think I'll post something about it tonight, and join us tomorrow and see what it's like, and then we'll be doing that on Saturdays from now on.
Right, and just a heads up on that, the new format of the tactical quiz on Saturday, it really relies on participation in the Hangout. So if you want a chance to win most of the stuff, you have to be able and willing to jump into the live Hangout. However, being in the audience live, there's also going to be some cool stuff. So there's reason to show up, but you get the super cool stuff if you join the chat.
We learned from Oprah. So in order for us to surprise you, send us your keys through front door and whatever alarm codes there might be, an address, and then get ready to be surprised.
Ta-da!
Your keys will not be returned. So next we'll move into the next segment of the show. But it says that we're supposed to push people over to the Daily Gun Show website. So if you want to head over to the dailygunshow.com, that's where we put all kinds of exciting stuff, such as our archive. So anytime you want to listen to the show, you can head over there. Let's say you're bored, or you want to impress the boss or your girlfriend's parents, then go over to dailygunshow.com, head over to the archives, and start playing those shows for them. You can check out some biographies of those of us hosts that decided that it was our audience is worth the time and effort to write a biography. And there's links to things like our cool swag, like the Mike and Muzzle logo on shirts, and eventually we'll make some more patches and have those available again, which are made here in Tucson. So whenever you have one of them, you know that it's handmade. Let's see what else we have. I guess links to all our various social media platforms that we do the show on. And again, we ask at the beginning of each show that you take the time, if you enjoy what you're listening to here, that you take the time and subscribe to our various channels, like the shows that we post, leave comments. All those things, those acts work in the, well, one, they tell us where you're at. They tell us who's out there and who's listening. We actually read the feedback, so we have a direction for the show. But as far as the mechanisms of the platforms that we're talking about, when you like something on YouTube and you subscribe to the channel, those actions accumulate and make our channel more likely to be recommended to new viewers and new listeners. So when people do that on iTunes, which unfortunately no one really does, it tells us that there's nobody really over on iTunes, but it also doesn't help us get to recommended anywhere over on iTunes. So we just sit there. On YouTube though, Dan has been asking everybody to subscribe to our channel over there, and that's helping us to get more people listening to the show live. So we do appreciate that. We watch the people that are watching it live, or the numbers of people that are watching it live. We watch the number of people that are listening to it later, and we use that as feedback to keep us going and to give us some direction as to what kind of topics and how much effort to put into the show. So we do the website to kind of tie it all together. So if you do want to participate in keeping the show going and you don't have the financial resources to do so, we would definitely appreciate your time to go over and click on some of those links and follow through and subscribe and click on some of that stuff. That participation really does pay off, and we do appreciate it. That's why we take a moment during the show like this to bring that up. We are trying to do this.
You have a question over on Gun Channel side.
All right.
But what time tomorrow do you think you'll be having the Saturday special show?
I don't know yet because I have to go work tomorrow at a 9 to 5, so it'll be whenever I can do it after. I'll probably post something tonight, and it'll probably be 7 or 8, probably 7. I'll try to do it 7 my time, which would make it, I think, 10 Pacific. It's going to be pretty late, but I got to do it after I work.
Yep.
All right, so
tomorrow evening.
Yep, late. Let's see. So let's keep going with the show, and it'll take us to the gun shop of the day. Did I post this one in here? I guess I did.
You must have. Only because I know I didn't.
So we try to talk about a gun shop every day, and one of the reasons we started doing the show on a daily basis so that we could hit as many gun shops as possible. If you do something weekly, you can only do 52 gun shops. If you do it daily, we can hit something like 200 gun shops. So that's the goal. But every once in a while we get where we don't have a new one to post. So this one is one that we've talked about before. This is a video, an old video from Gun Website's channel. Looks like it's from 2009. I posted this. This was an indoor IDPA match. So what is that? What does IDPA stand for? Defensive
International Pistol Defense Association.
Something like that.
Or Defensive Pistol. I said it backwards, but yeah.
Yeah, so International Defensive Pistol. So it was created from the people that created IPSC, and it was too gamey for them. They didn't like the way people were making race guns and game in it, figuring out how to run through the stages as efficiently as possible. So it was designed to be a little more towards real life. So more like realistic scenarios of CCW, lethal force type of incidents, and less of the running through the stage 6 or 7 times dry so that you can get your shots and your reloads as efficiently as possible all timed. Instead, it's to simulate more realistic type of stuff. Anyhow, that's kind of the theory behind IDPA. This was an IDPA match that I don't know if they're still holding it, but they were holding it on the second Tuesday of every month. So we would head over there, and you can see they take the or they just set up these targets in the down range at an indoor range. So obviously the rest of the range was closed down. They would close the rental range down a couple hours early, I think, and then we would all show up, and maybe 8 or 10 people would show up to participate, and that was enough that it was worth them shutting it down. And it was pretty cool. Some of the people were kind of running it, and they would set up these scenarios. Sometimes we used the target, whatever you call them, things, how they, the wires that run the targets back and forth, to have some targets that moved. It was pretty fun, actually, and it was definitely interesting to be shooting inside. You don't get to shoot inside very often, and although it wasn't the same as shooting inside of a house or something, it was much more echoey and much more, I don't know, you can feel the concussion and stuff just more than you can at any kind of outdoor situation. And of course, there's a little bit of difference with having walls and the ceiling and people behind you. It was definitely added to the sensory experience. Anyhow, this is a little bit about the match, but this is held at what's called Marksman Pistol Institute here in Tucson. There's 2 of these. Now they're owned by someplace in Texas, I guess. They've been here for a long time, though. I think they were family owned when I first moved out here decades ago, but they've gone through a couple of different owners. The size of the gun shop has fluctuated over the years, and now they're kind of smaller in the overall scheme of things. Their ranges, though, this is pretty much what the range still looks like. The ranges have remained consistent throughout those years. So pretty nice company to have around, or at least services or facilities to have around, and kind of a creative way to use them. So I don't know, I didn't have much view of the gun shop there, but honestly there's not much gun shop. It's mostly the range. So it's called Marksman Pistol Institute. It's in Tucson. There's 2 of them. The other one we've done videos on before. We'll probably touch on it in the future, but if you want to check them out, I'm sure they're online and on Facebook or something.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to be able to do a match, because especially in places where you might not have a good outdoor range, that's cool that you can find a indoor range that offers it.
Yeah,
especially like when you guys down there and it's always over 100.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going out on the week. Well, some people are going out, like Ian and what's his name, Carl, go out and do that match, and those guys will run that match all through the year. So they'll go out when it's super hot and do those things, but most people don't, and they go to those indoor ranges, or at least they were going to those indoor ranges and doing that.
Right, or the opposite effect if you live up north, the winter is the time where you don't really have matches. But if there's an indoor range, there's no reason why you can't run that in the middle of winter. So that's cool. It's a cool place, and good of them for offering that.
Okay, so Chris is saying he's got a bunch of patches to donate to the show. We have a place down at the bottom of Gun Channels, actually. I'll just show you on, I'm still screen sharing or not. So if you head over to Gun Channels anytime and you want to mail us something, down at the bottom it says contact. And when you click on that, you'll get this email address right here. Or I mean this this regular address right here.
Yeah, don't send your emails there. It won't get there.
It'll take a long time. But anyway, that's where you can mail us stuff. Thanks. No bombs or what was that white stuff? Wasn't strictly.
Anthrax.
Anthrax, yeah, no anthrax, no bombs or nothing. Thanks.
But patches are, I think, always happily accepted.
All right, so that was the gun shop of the day. We already got a line through it. Thanks. We can get to, I suppose we should wait. I don't know. Looks like we're cruising through the show here. Let's
do tactical tidbits.
Yeah, feel free to do that one.
All right. Today, in tactical tidbits, we're continuing with the 17 rules of a gunfight. Today is rule number 4. Do a quick review of the ones we've had so far. Number 1, bring a gun. Number 2, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Number 3, only hits count. The only thing worse than a miss is a slow miss. And that was from Wyatt Earp. And today's number 4, if your shooting stance is good, you're probably not moving fast enough or using cover correctly. And that has to do with something that I am absolutely guilty of, is when I practice, and I belong to an outdoor range, I have plenty of room to move around while I'm shooting. And when you're not moving, you're an easy target. It's easy to hit a target that doesn't move. So in a real gunfight, you want to be moving around, not just standing there like a statue. So that is number 4 again. Just close the book a little bit too soon, or the booklet. If your shooting stance is good, you're probably not moving fast enough or using cover correctly. Any thoughts on that from my fellow host?
I guess I'll agree with that.
Okay, and that is today's Tactical Tidbits.
All right. Well, then I guess we'll head into the next one. I think we can go into bullet of the day. It'll be another video in the series. We're looking at BMGs stuff. Oh, this is fun. So let me screen share here. Got an echo coming in from somebody there. So I think I got the volume turned off. It looks like what we're looking at here is another 50 BMG out of the collection after I got back from the Wanamaker gun show last year. I think I did this series, so I pulled out some of the ammo collection and poured it out on the table there. I had just got the belt of 308 ammo, and I came to the epiphany of putting all my collections on belts, that were appropriate. Anyway, so normally I have my 50 BMG collection here on that belt that I'm showing off there. I don't really think I got much for the 50 collection that was beltable. And what I mean by that is I don't really want to jam this one into the belt because it's not really a 50 BMG so much as it was a 50 BMG from Korea that somebody took apart and turned into a lighter. So pretty freaking cool. I imagine there's lots of that kind of stuff that's hobbled together out of war junk, right, during the wars and stuff you can bring home or whatever, souvenir type of stuff. So super cool, and it's vintage, and it wasn't really all that expensive. Anyway, I didn't want to put it into my belt because then I might forget what it is, so I leave it out with what's actually, am I still screen sharing? Yeah. If I pause it here, I'll pause it here. I keep it with these two 50 BMGs. So I don't know if anybody can remember what those 50 BMGs are, but that's where I keep it. And it's kind of neat. I know it's kind of a little bit off from the standard ammo collection, but I think it's got some relevance to war history and just ingenuity and history, right? So I call it my BMG.
I know it's a fairly common thing that I've seen where people have taken 50 BMG casings and turn them into pens.
Yeah, exactly. Those are a little more like commercial production type of thing compared to, well, I mean, that was definitely commercial, but a little more hobbled together back during the war. Because the pens I see at least are like sitting there in a little display at the gun show. 50 BMG pen, $5.
And by right, I mean pen. Do you like that?
There you go.
Okay. So I won't give up my day job.
All right, and I ain't giving up my BMG lighter. So that is 50 BMG lighter. That's a video over on the YouTube. I think I've included it in the show description. Almost positive I did. So if anybody wants to take a look at some of the stuff when we post videos, we usually put it in the show description. That way, if you're watching stuff over on our website, like we talked about before, and you're watching something out of the archives, and we reference something or we talk about something, more than likely we've got a link there, so you can dig right into whatever it is we started talking about. So with that, I think we can move along. Looks like we got Z coming, so we can slowly move our way over towards that movie. Do we have a gun history today? Oh, I think we do. So let me go back to screen sharing. And
we definitely do, because we talked about it earlier today.
Oh yeah, we did. So earlier today, I was waiting for the cards to come in. The prototype.
Did we do gun biz?
No.
Okay.
So I've been waiting. We want to do everything. We don't have Z in part of the show, right? But anyway, so earlier today, I was waiting for the prototype to show up in the mail. I knew it was on the truck or whatever, so I was waiting for it to show up. and started a live chat this morning. And since yesterday was the anniversary of the last day anybody could register a full auto firearm, May 18th, 1986. Today is the actual date that the Firearms Owners Protection Act was passed, May 19th, 1986. And Smeggy was saying, "Oh, it's a good thing. I'm glad we have it." And it was done well in the legislature. So I was like, "Hey, Smeggy, let's watch that over again and see if you still
Don't even. Don't.
I'm just trying to recollect how I remember it happening.
I know, and honestly, how you are recollecting it is how everyone accuses me of being, when all I said was, I hear people talk about how they did something underhanded and they it didn't actually pass and it was a bad vote and blah, blah, blah. And I've never been able to figure out exactly what they're talking about. I watched that 13-minute video hundreds of times, and I don't know which vote people accuse of being the wrong one and which one is, I don't know. I don't get it. It's like people talk about it like it's a conspiracy, and I don't see it. It was crappy that the Hughes Amendment got tagged on to an otherwise very good law.
Right. So I'm just giving you shit, of course, but yeah,
I know, but you're triggering me.
I hear you. I did that intentionally. So, because this is important shit, right? This is the kind of stuff we should get riled up about. So we watched it again earlier today, and it's 13 minutes of infamy. It's basically what's his face being in charge of the committee, and it's them all bitching and moaning, and then seeing the Hughes Amendment clicked on to the end, and then it shows the vote, the electronic vote. Then it kind of edits and goes fast forward to the full Congress. No, excuse me, the full House. No, it was the full Congress, right? Voting on the Hughes Amendment, and it passed pretty quickly. So I think the concern, of course, is that this is a mostly good bill. The Firearms Owners Protection Act wasn't veiled in a deceptive name. It was a Firearms Owners Protection Act. If we look at what it actually did, aside from the Hughes Amendment, it ended record keeping on ammunition sales, which is a good thing. Up in between 1968, the Gun Control Act of 1968, and in 1986, you had to write down every time you bought ammo, and it ended that. It created the Safe Passage Act, which allows people with firearms to travel through states with heinous infringements. It forbids the government or any agency from keeping records of any firearm, linking any firearms that are non-NFA to their owners. So that stops, this forbids the federal government or any agency of it from keeping records of firearms owners. So that's a good thing. And then it requires that the records from the NICS check are destroyed after 24 hours. So this had good points to it. Because of that, the Democrats hated it, and the Republicans were all for it, which tends to be, the way that the political sides lay down on this stuff. So when we watch it live, we see that the Republicans were all for it and the Democrats were all against it. Then that Hughes guy stands up and gets his amendment thrown onto it, which takes a pro-gun bill and adds no more machine guns to it. Now, that freaked everybody out. And depending on how your impressions of watching it are, I think they intentionally, not like did a, what do they call that, where they just talk and talk and talk, but they basically ran out the clock. Some people were asking that
like a filibuster.
Correct, thanks. It wasn't a filibuster necessarily, because it wasn't so formal or anything, but there was 4 minutes left, and they weren't going to allow any extensions. The head of the committee wasn't going to allow any extensions or claim that there was no way to add any time extension. So some of the people were shouting for reading the amendment, and other people said, let's just vote yes or no. And other people were saying, let's just vote no on it. So they had different people shouting, and who knows what kind of agenda those people were shouting about. So they technically ended up reading it, but they read it in such a way that it was stop and go, read a little bit, argue, pick up exactly where you left off and keep reading, so that as a person trying to interpret everything that's going on, the chaos, you hear like portions of it, and then she stops reading and then she starts again, and you have to remember where it's really difficult to actually envision what she actually said completely because of all the interruptions and the fact that she didn't like start again, at the beginning of a sentence or anything. She just literally kept going. So it made it really difficult to keep track of what's going on, especially if you would have been there in real life. I mean, we're watching it over and over and over for how many times and barely tracking it.
It's in legal speak. And some of the things I remember, it's like subsection 7, replace and with or.
Right.
And subsection 9-2.
Now, the whole beginning of it there is she says basically remove the paragraph or remove the period, then remove and then create the word and. So a lot of it is just setting up literally taking apart the end of the sentence that's there in the law and replacing the period with an and then inserting the rest of what I'm about to say. So a lot of that stuff, I'm sure that the law creators and the lawmakers, whatever you want to call these representatives, I'm sure that they're used to hearing that. That's like us talking about chambers and calibers. We know that stuff. So I'm sure they could hear that and know what it was and file it.
It was hard to follow as a layman, though, for sure.
Yeah, for us, it was pretty tough. And I got to assume just in the chaos, it wasn't necessarily easy for everybody. Anyhow, we have a pretty much pro-gun bill that's going through that the Democrats are against. And at the last minute, one of the Democrats, shady Democrat, throws this hand grenade at the end that stops the manufacture of machine guns. So now it's a very pro-gun bill that Republicans are voting for and are getting pissed at the Democrats for trying to block. And then you get a couple of Democrats that vote for it and a couple of Republicans that stop voting for it. But for the most part, the Republicans voted through. And I don't think that it was an intentional, like, deliberate effort by what's his name as much as like an accidental, whoops, I'm going to throw this on here. Whoops, it happened. Whoops, it worked. Like, I really think he was like, what? It happened.
Randall?
No.
The majority leader?
No, he was the guy just running it. I don't think he gave a shit one way or the other than he hates guns and everybody else. I think that Hughes was the one, because basically even after it was added and even after they voted yes on it, he's like, I want to explain it. And they're all like, shut up. It's already passed. Like,
yeah, you even hear a guy in the background say, we got it.
Yeah, like,
because that was the biggest thing, right? Hughes was actually the one who didn't want the lady to read the bill or read the amendment because he wanted to use those 4 minutes to complain about machine guns and explain why machine guns are so evil.
Right. And maybe if he would have been able to get on this high horse, a bunch of Republicans would have said, whoa. So it was a clusterfuck. It was not a great situation. But it wasn't like Smeggy's asking. I really don't think it was a situation where like an evildoer got up and did evil and then sat back down and everyone was duped. Like, it was just a big clusterfuck and a bad thing happened in the process. And I don't think anybody intentionally did it as much as it kind of happened. And I don't think anyone is to blame other than the process is too casual.
Right. No, that's a good point. If the Democrats would have gotten that extra time for discussion and stuff, because that was one of the things they actually wanted. They tried to like, rise or whatever, like leave the committee for the day or whatever before voting on the amendment because they wanted to have all day the next day to complain about machine guns and explain why they're so evil. And that was one of the votes that the nays definitely had it, and they did an electronic vote, and yep, because all the Republicans were like, no, we're not done yet. We're going to vote on this first. So I wonder how it would have turned out if they would have had time to really explain. Like you said, the Republicans might wake up, be like, oh, wait a minute. He added what to this thing? This is ridiculous. We got to get rid of this.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff is nice, but it wasn't worth the end of machine guns. And if that's seriously how they voted, then they should be held to task because they voted against freedom. But then what happened is it went immediately. So it got amended with this stupid amendment and then got voted on from the committee. Then it went to the House, got voted on, assuming, it went to Reagan and he voted on it. So what is he going to do? You can blame Reagan. I'll blame Reagan. But he did have, I didn't want to look at the numbers again. It was something like 230 Republicans voted for it and like 14 voted against it. And the Democrats were like 160 to 110, like voted for it versus against it. Because they were still against all of this blue stuff. So they weren't even 100%. They weren't willing to give up machine guns in order to get all this other stuff. They want, they were basically half and half almost. It's the Republicans that either didn't give a shit or didn't pay attention and voted overwhelmingly for it to go through. And then again, I don't know, you can hold Reagan ultimately responsible. He did sign it. I don't think he had veto. They still don't have veto power, line item veto, right? They can't say you can have it except for this red line here.
Yeah, I believe it's all or nothing.
So,
Yeah, it's
so he
Well,
took
the idea is that you veto it, and then they have to redo it.
and that's what he could have. He should have, honestly. But again, he probably had he saw the thing with a bunch of Republicans behind it, and they didn't say, "Oh shit, we got duped. Don't really sign that," which they could have. So I hold them all responsible. Nobody's getting away with it, and that's why we're bringing it up, even though it was a long, long time ago. What, 31 years ago?
That's why Just Dano hates Charles Rangel. I've hated that guy for 45 years.
Well, I'm not gonna blame you for that. That guy's a jerk.
Which one is that?
The guy who was up there clacking.
He was the House Majority Leader.
So the guy at the end, the one that's like, "This is over on the bill."
No, that's Tip O'Neill. This was the guy before him slapping the
Yeah.
hammer, yelling at everybody, taking it real casually, like the nays have it, the noes have it, the noes.
Yeah, he was
Oh,
running
he
the
was
floor.
the committee head guy.
Yeah.
Okay, I just was curious which one we were talking about because I don't know these people's names.
Yeah.
I was barely alive back then.
Wrangle. All right, so that was a little piece of history, and I'm going to click on this other thing because that was negative history that nobody likes. Let's click on, see if we get some positive history that everybody likes.
Plus P?
We were talking about plus P before, Z. What's your feelings on plus P?
I don't know. Like 45 plus P, or are we talking like 9mm plus P? We talking, or just plus P in general as a thing?
In general.
We're not talking about the Moab, so we can't be talking about 45 plus P.
Thank you. I suppose there's a purpose for it, but I don't know. It's not my thing. And because here's the other thing: if you're taking a lesser caliber and trying to hop it up to the edge of what the next caliber is, why don't you just get the next caliber?
Well, I would say because you don't want to have all that recoil and all that pressure and power like all the time. You want to be able to train and stuff with other stuff, and then just carry plus P
versus 9?
Wait, what did Z say?
I was saying that if you need or want plus P plus or plus P or whatever, or plus minus plus square root of P, that sure, that's fine for whatever, but my opinion is why don't you just go to the next caliber as opposed to try and potentially stretch out, and because basically you are abusing the gun that was set up for something lesser than that over time anyway.
Unless it's rated for that. And the only caliber that can
You're still going to wear it out faster than if you were using regular ammo. That's it. Whether it can handle it or not, you're still going to wear it out faster.
Not if it's designed for it.
Yes, you will. You will wear it out faster than if you use regular ammo through the same gun.
Okay. But what I was trying to say is I do see that you have a valid argument with most calibers, with the exception of it used to be that you could not get a 9 as small as a 380. So if you needed a really, really tiny gun, 380 was the only way to get a tiny gun. There were no 9s of that size. Where nowadays there are a couple 9mm that are that size. So now that's no longer true.
I mean, I'm not against anybody using it or anything like that, or anybody having it. If that's your personal preference, that's totally fine. I'm not gonna like hold that against somebody or think you're a freak. I'm just of the opinion that if you want it hopped up that hot, consider getting the next caliber up. Then that's all I'm trying to say. And I do hear what you're saying, Dano, and that some guns are rated for plus P or plus P plus. I got you there. But also, it's just one of those things where it is, although like the barrel's not going to bulge on you or stuff like that, it is going to wear out the parts faster than if you were just shooting regular ammo. And that's where I stand on plus P. I would like to shoot the shit out of some 45 ACP plus P though.
I'd like to shoot a 44 Magnum at least a couple times.
What?
I've never shot one.
Well, see, that's the thing. Plus P in like 357 and 44, there is no such thing, right? They just happen to have hotter loads for it. They don't. None of them say plus P.
Well, but in revolvers they did the Magnum thing instead of saying plus P.
No, Magnum came about long before there ever was plus P or plus anything.
It was a different way of accomplishing a similar thing. They changed the dimensions of the round so it wouldn't fit. You know,
well, but you just said it right there. The Magnum it's a different round. Plus P just has more powder in the same bullet or the same casing.
Well, they can actually have the exact same projectile.
I know, same projectile, but it's a different.
But the bullet ain't the same.
To hold more powder.
No, the bullet can be the same. The casing will be longer.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyways.
Now we're getting into semantics, so let's move on.
Okay.
All right. So then we do the movie of the day. Every day we try to touch on a gun-related movie, something you might not have seen in a while, or if you're a youngin', something you ain't seen yet. And today the movie is called War Wagon. I'm guessing it's a cowboy movie. It is a John Wayne movie. I don't think I've seen this one. Looks like
Kirk Douglas, John Wayne, 1967 Western, directed by Burt Kennedy, who also directed Return of the Magnificent Seven. Stars John Wayne as Todd Jackson, a rancher who was shot and wrongly sent to prison and now seeks retribution against the corrupt businessman who stole his land and claimed the gold found on it. Todd decides to team with Lomax, who's Kirk Douglas, a gunslinger on a mission to hijack a shipment of the gold that businessman is transporting in a heavily armored stagecoach known as the War Wagon.
That's pretty cool looking too.
And it's not that there's a lot of different guns in this movie, but the fact that they're like, of course, there's Colt single action all over the place. There's, Winchester Model 1892s all over the place. There's, the Colt Gatling gun and all that kind of stuff. There's a couple of scenes where there's some stuff on the people's walls and stuff like that. But the gun of note is the War Wagon itself with the turret and all that kind of stuff.
When the War Wagon rolls, the screen explodes.
Sounds about right. It's pretty good. It's older, but I definitely liked it. It was one of because Kirk Douglas and John Wayne I don't think they really starred too many movies with each other. So it was kind of a big deal. You know what I mean? And yeah. Like, who said that? Dogbody? Yeah, Dogbody said kind of an Old West tank, almost, if you want to think about it like that.
Right on. Cool movie. I have not seen it, so I'm definitely going to watch it now because it's a John Wayne movie. So I'm guessing that it's not available on Amazon because I think I've seen all the Amazon and Netflix.
You know what? I don't know for sure right now, honestly. I saw that. I think it was one of those you could buy it on Amazon. Let me see.
Well, that's the thing. You can probably.
Yeah, I think it was a buy.
Now, here's the thing. Is it? You seen it? You remember it?
Who, me? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a gimmick, and the wagon is all the gimmick, or is it really a good movie? And then there happens to be.
Well, let's be honest. You got two freaking powerhouses of machismo in this movie. You got John motherfucking Wayne, and you got freaking Spartacus with guns. So just wrap your head around that for a second. And they're teaming up together, as a matter of fact.
It looks like a black and white one.
No, it should be color.
Okay, I'm just looking at black and white pictures of it, maybe then.
Yeah, it should be color. There's a lot of natural lighting in it though, so there are scenes that are dark and stuff like that.
Yeah, here's another color picture of it. So I was just looking at stock pictures. They would do those black and white pictures for, I don't know, for that promotion or something. Now, is it one of the kind of movies where they'll run horses off a cliff and be mean to them, or is it after that where they were nice to the horses?
Man, I do not recall if this is a no animals were harmed during the filming of this movie or not. I do not recall that. It has been a while since it has been actually, it's been over more than 10 years for sure since I've seen it.
Okay, as I noticed that as I've been watching over the last couple of years, I've been trying to watch all the John Wayne movies. So there's like 176 of them, so it's
It only takes forever.
Yeah, it takes a while. Somewhere in the middle, pretty much when they go from black and white to color, a little bit after that maybe, there must have been some push in Hollywood. In fact, I think I've read about the push in Hollywood for them to quit being mean to horses. So for a while,
horses, dogs, like it was the ASPCA maybe when it got founded or something like that, like in the mid to late 60s or something.
I don't know, but I'm just saying you'll be watching a movie and it's kind of off-putting. You'll be watching a movie, minding your business, and then boom, like that horse got hurt. Like they just did something horrible.
Yeah, exactly. It was what do you call it, like a snare on the leg that made them the front go down like they were shot,
or like drop them off a cliff. They'll do that a lot in the old ones, or like run them down just really weird places, and they switch scenes, and you're like, wow, anyway, it's off-putting. You're like, wow, that was distracting.
Well, and you and I were talking about it off air. A horse will kill you where a mule is smart and will not. So yes, they definitely used to run them off the cliff and into the water and all that kind of stuff.
No, they didn't always kill them, but they definitely.
No, I didn't mean that they killed them. I just mean that that's what they ended up doing as a stunt horse or whatever.
Yeah, they quit doing that. So you can tell Westerns did get a little kind of different after a while. Anyway, this is War Wagon, and we'll talk more about other gun-related movies in the future. If you ever have one that you want us to talk about, feel free to email us. It's dailygunshow@gmail.com, and we're happy to include movies that you might suggest. I did look at the history thing, and there's some things that happened. An interesting one is that U.S. planes bombed Hanoi for the first time in 1967, and ironically, it's Ho Chi Minh's birthday in 1890. Son of a bitch was born in 1890. Ho Chi Minh, the Vietnamese nationalistic political leader. A bunch of other stuff that isn't as interesting, I think.
Right.
All right. So I guess that's about it. We talked about the plus P. We should probably talk about that for a little bit more. It looks like Tony was interested in us touching back on that subject. Otherwise, we talked about the gun biz. Oh, no, we didn't. What's next for the gun biz? We're sitting here wrapping up the show. We've only done one topic. What's next for the gun biz? Trying to get out of here early.
I don't know what's next. If I knew what was next, then I would go start a business that does that.
I know what's next. Playing card decks. People can't get enough of them, and it's my feeling is they're interested in starting off with the Old West style guns.
That definitely is next. I agree with that. And actually, I did think of something for the industry. This is my prediction or whatever, but I think suppressors are going to be a big thing, especially if that Hearing Protection Act passes eventually. I know it's not going to happen tomorrow. I'm hoping it does eventually, but I think if that does, and you start getting like what they do with air rifles and stuff, with the integrated suppressor and all that. Can you imagine having a nice hunting rifle that like just already has a suppressor built into the barrel and all that stuff? That'd be awesome. And even if it doesn't pass, I think in the last few years, like a heck of a lot more people have learned about suppressors than ever really knew.
Well, let's be honest, more
myths
states
left and right.
Well, I mean, I know it's all FUD, but there's definitely been at least 5 or 6 states in like the past 2 or 3 years that have added the legality of hunting with a suppressor. So like you're saying, like it's getting more common usage. So therefore, more people can vote pro. And so, whether it doesn't pass this time or not, which it should pass, but whatever, I'm not in charge. The fact that I think there will be more states continue to, especially if it doesn't pass, there will be more states that will allow it for legal hunting. Is Michigan one of those states yet, Smeggy?
I'm not 100% sure.
I know Georgia.
I've seen conflicting things, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, we'll figure that out another time. But yeah, I'm with you on that. I definitely think that's the potential for the biggest thing that's next, or what have you, because you know how since 2004 there's become so many more AR parts and manufacturers come into being business since 2004 with the sunset of the AWB. I think that if this did become a law, you could almost see the same thing happen within 10 years of the suppressor industry, where they've come down in price. There's going to be some that are super cheap, but they're made of cheaper materials, kind of like some of the ARs and stuff, but still functional. And then there's going to be just more. There's going to be more choices, more options.
Well, and threaded barrels and different attachment systems and all sorts of accessories and things.
Well, and then think about it. It won't be illegal to disassemble your suppressor anymore. Or, excuse me, maybe I'm saying that wrong where I shouldn't be saying illegal. But just think about it. The maintenance and care that you might be able to accomplish with your suppressor if this thing passes in the future would be fantastic. You might be able to disassemble it down to the unique parts and then also purchase some of those set parts, like a baffle or something if you've had a baffle strike. Whereas now, if it's something that you can't take apart, you're screwed, basically.
Right, and that's I don't remember where I saw this, and I don't have all the details, and I may be mixing in my own creative thinking on it, but I thought there was something where like you get the suppressor and then you pick like how many sections you want to put on it. Like on the end of it, you can have room to like attach more, almost like Legos or something. Like you can just stack them all up and have like a huge one, or you can take it down and only have like 2 baffles, and so it's smaller and lighter, but it doesn't muffle as much. And so, but to do that, like those baffles would have to be like not serialized parts, or you'd be able to just do whatever you want with them.
Yeah, that's the problem. They're not serialized parts right now. They're just regulated that they can't sell them to you. So that's that one of those gray lines or one of those.
Well, and that's what I'm trying to say. Think if this passes or whatever, all that's out the door, isn't it?
I hope so. I mean,
okay, yes, I may be,
but maybe not though. You're right, because suppressors are still going to be treated like a firearm. Like you won't have the NFA part of it goes away, but you'll still have to buy a suppressor from like an FFL or a private dealer and follow all the rules that a firearm would, don't you?
Well, okay, yes, technically, but that you're implying that is more restrictive than it is. So you're right. You might have to buy bodies with a 4473, but like Z's saying, I think baffles.
You should be able to get the hammer spring version or the threaded barrel version. I mean, parts wise, you know what I mean?
Like baffles and wipes and parts won't be as they are now regulated without serial numbers. So that,
right. Yeah, you're right. They'd just be chunks of metal and stuff. Yeah.
What you talked about before, though, is relevant as well. I don't know if I'd necessarily agree with you guys, but if you're talking suppressors and the evolution of them right now, they're built for an end user who has to go through a lot of effort and cost to have something that can't be repaired or replaced, period. So they need to build them with those parameters into that customer. When they change the parameters, when they change the customer to where a suppressor can be disposable, it can be made out of plastic. When you talk about evolution of 3D printing, right now you can only make baffles X amount of ways because you're usually starting with a stock of metal and you're removing components. So that means you have to be able to get in a shape that a drill can remove, right? So in other words, if you think of something like a snail shell, you're not going to be able to drill a snail shell out of metal, right? But if you're 3D printing out of nowhere, you can create a metal shape that's the size that's more like a snail shell, which would probably be conducive to suppressors because you're trying to eliminate pressures and all that kind of stuff. So imagine the new tech when machining process, the ability to create isn't a limiting factor, and they're able to go nuts with the computer, the ability to figure out how sound travels and then build accurate ways to stifle it. So, with 3D printing, and 3D printing leads to, printing it at your home or, at a shop in the back, the back room.
Or just even innovation, like industry wide, like not just to be able to do it at home, but think if you're the designer and you can take your work home and work on it at home with prototyping, and then think of the level of sophistication and skill that you can put into it when you are actually, working with the metal at the shop or whatever.
I'm not working overtime. They're not going to make me work at home.
And then upload and share. So now all of a sudden technology gets shared all over. So once that stuff isn't restricted to people who have the ability to have it and to pay for it, I think we're going to see definitely a different environment with suppressors.
Well, and that's what I was trying to say earlier a little bit, is when I was trying to compare it to what happened to the AR industry after the sunset of the 2004 AWB. I do think that within a few years of this passing, that it will be more common. It will be, like you're saying, there will definitely be innovation, and I think there will be an improved ease of use. And I mean, I know technically all you have to do is screw it onto the end of a barrel, but I think you also understand that that's not exactly what I mean.
No.
However, you know what? Actually, I bet that will improve too at some point, because you already have some that have the locking cam and stuff like that, where you just slide it over and you lock the cam, and that locks around the collar and everything like that, where you're not even screwing it on. So I mean, I kind of agree with Smeggy that if this thing passes, that could be the next big thing in the gun industry.
The disposable Glock plastic one doesn't have any attachment point other than friction on like a muzzle ring, so it just fits on there tightly because you're only shooting it 20 times. So it doesn't have any requirement for an attachment.
Does it have a big G on the side of it?
It has the Glock logo on the side, yeah.
Ah, jeez.
So Harry on the YouTube side had an interesting point that making it a legal responsibility to get a tax stamp in order to have a quiet firearm means that the guns have to leave the factory loud. And it's true. They don't do any effort at making a firearm less loud at a factory because they know that it has to.
Right, because they can't. Technically, their hands are tied by the law, right?
Well, not necessarily. We shouldn't say it that way. They could definitely build integrally suppressed firearms. It would just reduce their market quite a bit because not enough people are interested in going through all the hoops and the cost. But once they change that situation, then yeah, it could be a real incentive. Now, Tony's saying that explosions in chambers, detonations in chambers, or whatever, are allowed due to physics. But again, we're talking about a standard chamber. If the firearms manufacturers have if their hands aren't tied, how do we know they can't put 4 little ports on a right off the chamber that that do something that changes the way guns recoil? We spend a lot of energy making the gun recoil, but we don't take it all. And maybe there's some way to accomplish 2 birds with 1 stone: reduce recoil and absorb all the noise, and have a silent works a different way.
I think the thing that maybe Harry just doesn't know or whatever is that if a factory were to make an integrally suppressed firearm, then that entire firearm counts as a suppressor and has to follow the NFA stuff.
Right.
Because they do that with air rifles, because air rifles are not firearms. They don't fall under that.
In some states they are, which is baloney.
And so in state level, fine.
I think federal, 2, as a matter of fact.
In federal level, they don't. So
Correct.
That's why I've seen them in the catalogs of Cabela's or whatever. Like, you can buy a pretty high-powered air rifle for hunting or whatever, and it's quiet as can be because they have what we're talking about, the chambers and the different ports and all this stuff. It's all just built in with the big barrel.
Well, and here's the thing with that. As you know, that sure, the suppressor can help the projectile before it leaves, but if the projectile breaks the sound barrier once it leaves, it's going to make the crack at that time no matter what. That's why something like, say, a 45 ACP suppressed is fantastic because it's already a subsonic round to begin with. Like my air rifle, it shoots, I think it's 1240 or something like that, or 1320. Anyway, and like you're saying, it kind of has the muffle on it once it immediately leaves, but once it reaches its apex of speed or whatever, it makes the crack because it breaks the sound barrier. So that's the interesting thing sometimes about silencers, that, you know, if people are Hollywoodified, they miss the point a little bit in that, yes, you can suppress it. It will make either less flash and or less sound when it leaves the barrel immediately, but once it reaches that speed, it's gonna make the crack. Know what I mean?
Well, I'm going to take it off of this because you guys are the ones that brought it down to being noise would be the, or sound level would be the next step for the industry. I don't think that'll be the next step for the industry. That'll be a step for the industry.
Well, I mean, you're wrong, but that's okay.
Well, it'll be a step for the industry, but I don't think it's the thing that's going to take them on to the next level. But I do think what'll happen, at least one of the things I see as a potential for the evolution now, when you see a lot of these pistol caliber carbines made out of ARs, and you see a lot of these other calibers, 300 or 7.62 by 39 type calibers being plugged into the AR platform, you start seeing modular mag wells. We've already seen modular trigger stuff, and the top end is already modular. So I'm thinking it's going to end up being some kind of weird hybrid, something. Well, we're going to start seeing the progression of that modularity into some just set of standards, the same way you have well, just an evolution of what we got with ARs. We've seen some other rifles already that are being built off of platforms that allow like an AR mag to be used, or an AR pistol grip. I think some of those inputs will stay the same, but the platform, the chassis that they go on will start to change a little bit, and you won't see so much stuff that looks like an AR as much as stuff that uses AR type components. And I could see that melding into, you know, more of just a, you know, sort of a what am I trying to say, like a what are those rail systems called, the M-Lock versus the other one. You know, it'll be sort of like that. There'll be a couple of different, like a Betamax VHS type of thing. So anyway, I think we're going to see a lot more modularity, and eventually the guns themselves will just be more of a chassis that the modular pieces will plug into.
Well, an AR in general already is almost exactly what you're talking about, but you're saying they're going to refine it and or expand on that? Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
Just even more and more general, so that it becomes, because the restrictions now on an AR are that stupid buffer tube or the receiver extension, and the concept of the bolt moving back. So I think we'll see a couple of more innovations in recoil management, and then especially with all the blowback stuff from pistols, just some differences there, at least some ways to deal with that. And then, like I said, there's already so much development in the magazines and the grips and the rails that I can just see that modular chassis. You know, we see Smith & Wesson making an AR chassis. Pretty much every company out there, except maybe Beretta, has an AR chassis. So as they decide, we don't need to have the, what do you call it, the brass deflector, we don't need to have the forward assist, you know, we're going to move our controls over here or something. We're going to add something to our controls. I think we'll just see that. I mean, it's not like a huge development. I just see that being a little bit more of a, or the way that it's going to go on the rifle side.
Well, to be honest, I just hope that it continues to grow, as opposed to the potentially the other direction.
I think with the pistol side, the way that SIG did that modular insert, I really think that's probably a way that it's going to go in the future. And then once all the companies go to a modular insert, it'll just be
You mean
software.
like the modular fire control system where it's literally like it's almost like a T and it just fits in whatever frame you're putting it in for the most part?
Yep. And then that way you can swap caliber, size, everything. And as soon as each company comes up with their own, then a couple of trigger, upgrades and your modular insert, and then now you can shoot the same chassis with, 6 different brands of internals, or vice versa, 1 internals with 6 different chassis. I just see that working real well with the way people like to buy stuff and buy new stuff and be familiar with stuff and comfortable with stuff and brand loyal and everything. I just see that really having a lot of potential.
Wait, did you imply that brand loyalty will change and it won't be as rabid, or do you think that it could potentially continue on?
No, I'm just saying I see that working real well with the way people are.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Because people aren't strictly brand loyal. I mean, people don't say, I'm buying a Sig or I'm buying a Glock and then leave it like that. At least very few people. But people like to have their core whatever and then fiddle with it. And, that's just the ultimate level of that. Like, I got my core so-and-so brand, and then I use my, legit so-and-so upgrade. And somebody else will come along and have their combinations or their perfect setup.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to all of these innovation and improvements, and I really hope that the gun business is able to stay in business. With, let's be honest. I mean, the political climate is as great as we think that it is. It could still either flounder or potentially flip over. I mean, anything's possible. So I hope that it has the opportunity to continue forward and grow and prosper.
I don't know, Smeggy, anything else? I don't know if he's hearing
No, I agree with you on that. Also, modular stuff will be in the future.
So let's leave that module behind and move along to, I guess, the weekly wrap up is all we got left. We should probably talk about what's coming up. We got Edge has a show later on today. I guess Heavy does not have a show today. So whenever we're done here, there'll probably be, I don't know, I think, does Pink already have a lobby going?
I don't know.
I don't know, but there'll be a lobby going over on Gun Channel. So if you want to continue listening to something until Edge 4006 does his show later on today, then head over to Gun Channels. Otherwise, head back to Gun Channels in the morning. Overnight we'll be having a live text chat for sure. But in the morning on Saturdays, Travis has been doing a show, live show. Rick does his Rick's Life as I See It on Saturday
at 3 p.m. Eastern.
3 p.m. Eastern. That makes it noon Pacific, I think. And then after that, we'll be doing the tactical quiz sometime tomorrow evening, probably about 7 p.m. Pacific, so 10 Eastern. I think that's about it. I'll mention one more time. Oh, I was going to actually play the video. So now we're going to play the video from the playing card decks. Those are up. We did get the, the prototype deck in. It looks pretty cool, and you'll be able to take a look at it here in one moment because I'm going to play the video from Kickstarter. Hello, welcome to the Old West Guns playing card project here on Kickstarter. This is second custom playing card deck from Gear Websites. It's the third project on Kickstarter and almost our 20th project doing crowdfunding for projects like these. We're really looking forward to getting these decks made. As the name implies, these are Old West guns. So we've got 52 cards in the deck. Each one is an individual firearm from the Old West and Civil War era. We start out with the spades, which are the rifles, and each card has a color photo with stats, dates, numbers that are produced. We get into the hearts, which are the revolvers. They go chronologically from the aces through the king. So you go through time and you go through the various manufacturers. The clubs are shotguns, and towards the end we have the rim fires, and then the diamonds are the derringers and some pocket pistols. So there's lots of stuff represented here, and if you might have noticed on the bottom of the cards, if we fan them the other way, there's life-size photo of the cartridge that they used, so you can get some comparison and see some of the variety of the ammunition that was used on these old-time guns. We hope this deck is both entertaining and educational, and hopefully fun for playing poker or doing magic tricks. The back art is like this right now, but we do plan on having a contest during the project to try to get the some other people's ideas for some back art. So thanks for taking the time to look at the deck. We hope that you'll grab one while they're available, and please help share the word on the project. We do appreciate it. Thanks for watching.
Very nice.
So that's the deck. I've been linking over there. So anybody that wants to, there's some $10 decks over there. Then they'll go to 15 bucks. I think we've got everything. We've learned our lessons from prior projects. So I think we've got it priced right. Hopefully we'll get the word out enough that enough people get interested, and we can get them made. And if we get enough people interested, of course, our goal would be ultimately to get them made in the USA again. But we will get them made one way or the other. So
Be nice if somebody put a link to that in the external.
Sure. So we'll probably do a live show on those. And as I alluded to in the video there, we're going to be doing some contests for the back art, the art on the back side of the cards, and talking about what to put on the jokers, and just playing around with, getting the word out on the project. So there's a link out there again. Otherwise, we talked about what's coming up on Gun Channels. We will be back here Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 Pacific. And
I just want to say something. You had mentioned it'd be good for, doing magic tricks or whatever. I actually had someone use the AK playing cards in a magic trick. He was doing like some street magic stuff, and he did a crazy trick or whatever. And I was like, "Can you do that with any deck of cards, or you need special ones?" He goes, "I'll do it with any deck." I said, "All right, I got a deck in my car. Let's see you do it." And he did. And I forget what it was, but it was a cool little thing.
all right, film that next time, because that'd be kind of cool to have on the thing, right? Having some guy do magic
You
tricks.
can't film magic. What's the matter with you?
Why does that take his soul? Takes the
You
magician's.
can't. It's magic. Actually, you probably can, but you know what I'm saying.
Hopefully.
Well, next time I randomly meet someone who's doing magic tricks in a bar for the fun of it, I will film it with the AK cards.
Excellent.
Well, put that out there, and a request out there for anybody who can do magic tricks. If you can film some stuff with the AK decks, that'd be cool.
Oh yeah.
We just got a text from Bob that he has no internet, so I don't know if that means for the future. Or
He
what.
also doesn't have a watch either.
I guess
clearly.
he's in Canada by now.
I found a quote though for Bob.
Well, Len was going to say Monday we'll be back with episode 314. We'll be talking about how to use Patreon, since we've been using Patreon quite a bit. Hopefully we'll get more people to get their projects off the ground that way. We'll be talking about gun log books in the gun tech segment of the show, something that people have a CNR might be interested in. We also talk about gun shop every week and things like the gun movie of the day. And we like to talk about those gun movies ahead of time so you have a chance to go check them out. Next week, we'll be talking about Haywire, then one called Columbiana.
Yep.
Then Tomb Raider.
Yep.
Domino.
Starting to see a pattern, right?
And Bad Girls / Banditas.
Yes. Two different movies. Two
Bad
different
Girls
movies, but relatively they're both lady westerns. So double feature Friday. A week full of the ladies. Every one of those movies, the lady is the hero or protagonist.
Right on. So, yeah, grab your daughters and watch them.
Whoa. No. Only if they're 18 or older for one or two of those movies, please.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, then watch those movies, and if they're appropriate, grab your daughter and watch the movie again.
There you go. That's the way to do it. That way you get to watch it twice, maybe.
So Pink did say that he started up a lobby over there on Gun Channel. So anybody that's enjoying the show, feel free to jump over to Gun Channels and watch what's happening over there, or be part of it. You can just join right in. And I think now we're ready to end it, and we'll see you again on Monday.
Excellent. Just like to say thank you to everybody out there who has participated and is participating in the show. Thanks for the likes, the shares, the subscribings, all of that good stuff, whether it's on following us on Instagram, subscribing on YouTube, following on Facebook, all of that stuff helps get the show out there. So today's quote, we're gonna fall back on the Duke, John Wayne. He's got plenty of things that he said over the years, and this one I always liked. I'm not the sort to back away from a fight. I don't believe in shrinking from anything. It's not my speed. I'm a guy who meets adversity head on. And with that, everybody have a great day.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.